take down this jacket. It's going to be annoying me the whole time in the video. My daughter has a jacket up there. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Imuna. It seems like the car chronicles. The children are all in the shop, so we're going to do what it is. It is what it is. As promised, I said I was going to come back and give a little bit of my first experience, right? And first of all, I got more books in, y'all. I have not been promoting, so y'all gonna do the unveiling. I'm gonna do the first experience with Poly and why this all ties in together. So I had ordered some more books. These are gonna be autographed copies here. So if you need an autographed copy, I have not been promoting the book because it was so near and dear to me that just revisiting a lot of the stuff, it was still triggering me. What's going on, Adam? We just opened it. It was still triggering me because it's a kind of an autobiographical novel, right? It's kind of an autobiographical novel. And so there were so many trigger points, hey Jesse, welcome, in the book that, and Mayana, if you're watching, one of these is for Sister Mayana, because she's like, yo, where's my autograph copy? So I'm definitely going to sign it and send it. But some of the stuff was so triggering that I had to put it down for a while. Have you ever did something that was so close to you? Sometimes you see that with artists and songs, right? They may have a song that everybody may love, but they hate to sing it because of what that song represented. We talk about soul ties, and we talk about untying soul ties, and we talk about, so I'm not just talking about stuff, I'm living this stuff. And so because some of the stuff and the journey to understand was so triggering, even though I felt like, yo, I've been on this for a while, I should have healed in that point, and you still touch it, and it's a little bit sore, it just means give yourself some time. So promoting the book and having to go back and talk about it often, I wasn't really in that space, so I had put it down for a couple of months. But I'm back now. And in the book, the name of the character is Rebecca, okay? And like I said, it's kind of autobiographical novel in the sense that a lot of the experiences I experienced, right? So I want to just do the first Poly experience. Why? Because it was interesting. When you look back now, it's like, dude, what is going on? So, you know, oftentimes first impressions, they last. But some people may just be like, oh, that was just a bad first impression. But I took that first impression, and because of the kind of analytical mind that I have, I took the first impression, and I just kept, you know, as the years went on, and I kept seeing this conversation in a religious space, I kept seeing it recycle. I stepped away from like just the first impression to kind of look deeper into what this is. So I didn't get just stuck at, oh, it was because you didn't like the first person. That's not what happened. This happened like what year are we in? What year are we in? 2021? This is a good 15, 16 years ago. And since then, I haven't stopped broadening my understanding on the matter. So I have to just put that in there. So let me, as promised, I'm going to be reading a little bit here. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. Okay, let me just start at 19.3. If you do get the book and you read the book and you think it's a bit confusing, or if I'm touching and going in different spaces, the way I number the chapters is just to show you that this may be in the same time space, but something else is progressing. It's like life. I know sometimes we want the thing to be linear when we're reading it. And yeah, like, okay, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. But sometimes life doesn't unfold like that. That's just the reality. Sometimes life doesn't unfold like that. And the way this book unfolds is kind of how it unfolded. So if it's confusing a bit, my apologies. But let me get into it. 19.3. Let me just get y'all up to this point. At this point, the character in the book she fell into some financial hardships, and she meets a guy, but he's also in financial hardships. But now she's on her journey to get spiritual enlightenment, right? So she's on her journey. So she's really concentrating on her God consciousness, right? Trying to understand things, and it had presented some blind spots in her journey. So I'll just start there. 19.3. And the young man's name is Carmelo. So And for those who were like, Amuna's reading, yes, I'm reading today. So if reading is not your thing, I feel you. Check me on the next one. But for right now, I'm going to read. So I will be there. What's the address? Carmelo caught me off guard. It was Friday night. We agreed to meet next to the drugstore on Church in Utica. These are real places. He was early. Ready? I asked, walking up to him, leaning against the store window. Let me pause. She invited Carmelo. She says, if you want to talk to me, then you're going to have to come to the service I go to. If you want to talk to me, you're going to have to be in the space. Basically, you're going to have to level up. So he agreed, right? We walked for 10 minutes and arrived at service on time. Take your shoes off, I whispered as we entered the living room. Carmelo looked a bit nervous about being in such a closed setting. I waved to everyone, hugged the elders, and introduced him to the room. Shalom, everyone. This is Carmelo. He came out to study with us tonight. Everyone smiled and greeted him, except Barak, who was sitting up at the front with a scowl on his face. I ignored him and showed Carmelo where he could take a seat. Simone was there. She was a bit older than me. The first day we met, we clicked. During class, she presented wild and crazy questions that opened up fun and playful dialogue. Come to find out, I wasn't the only one Barak was scheming on. He and Simone had something going on behind the scenes. During class, so again, here comes the guy. He's the teacher, the Barak character. He's the teacher. And all the people who come through the door, he's scheming on them, right? With this thought that you can have multiple wives or just multiple people you want to talk to. During class, I looked over at Carmelo a few times to make sure he was all right. He seemed to fit right in with the group. Strangely, every time I looked up from reading, I caught Barak. Ambulance. I caught Barak giving me the evil eye. I looked at my watch and it was getting late. 10 o'clock already, Sister Plansy exclaimed. Barak called everyone to prayer. Moments later, we were getting ready, packing up our bags. Everyone started filing out the room one by one when I felt someone pull my jacket. Can we guess who it was? It was Barak. He waved me over, so I signaled to Carmela that I would meet him outside. Shalom, Rebecca. Who's that dude you brought to service? He motioned towards Carmelo while leaning down to pick up his Bible. He's a friend who came out to learn, I responded dryly. Is he your husband? Now or what? He continued with an unreasonable line of questioning. Husband? I was shocked at his assertion. He's a friend, and his name is Carmelo. I gave him a stern look. He stood there staring at me. I turned to walk away, but Barak tugged my jacket again. I'm watching you, he threatened. Right? So this whole concept, for those who may be new to this concept, that you go into certain religious spaces and the men already are divvying out the women and feeling that they have claim to them. And anyone that you show up with or you're speaking to, in some circles, that's your husband. Or, you know what I'm saying? There's no allowance for learning and growing. It's automatic. This sex equals marriage, which we've had that conversation umpteen times. So it's all of these doctrines that kind of frame the experience. So this was the experience of me just learning and thinking, hey, you bring other people to learn. But because the teachers and the leaders have framed this experience, sometimes with their own man-made doctrine, it makes things a bit confusing. So let me continue. And if you follow me, let me know. Just put a 1 or say something. Barak gave off a creepy vibe, but I was so eager to learn that I ignored the uneasy feeling in the pit of my stomach. I hurried to gather my things. Carmelo was waiting outside for me. We started walking briskly towards the bus stop. Thanks for coming out tonight, Carmelo. How did you like it? I asked while rubbing my hands together. It was cool. He stopped mid-sentence with a weird look on his face. Cool, I echoed. The 46 bus made its way up the block. We cut our conversation short. I thanked him again for coming. He waved goodbye as he entered the bus. The next Monday, he sat next to me in class. Do you want to grab lunch? Again? I agreed. We got a bite to eat. Carmelo told me about his family and the story behind how he ended up on welfare. And this is also crazy. Anyway, I'm not going to diverse. There's so much. It's so much, y'all. Sadly, his mother was on drugs, and he and his brother were arch enemies. He was sleeping on the floor of his neighbor's apartment. There was nothing like a sob story to make my soft heart melt like butter. Could you imagine me? Sorry. Could you imagine here I was on the verge of losing my apartment, and I had the nerve to feel like I needed to rescue him? There's so much in here, but I'm going to keep going because I'm just doing the poly part today. Are you coming to the service? Are you coming to service this week? I guess, he replied with uncertainty. It was nearing time to return to the program. I slipped the last bit of juice. What is wrong with me today? Let me slow down. I sipped the last bit of juice from my cup, throwing it in the garbage near the door. No problem, I replied, unbothered. That Friday night, Carmelo decided to show. He received a warm welcome from everyone except, let's all say it together, Barack. Barack gave me and him the evil eye the entire night. The moment service ended, he pounced. Rebecca. I looked around to see who called me, and sure enough, Barack was in the corner waving me over. I called you twice this week to Bible study. Why didn't you answer me? Bible study is the low-key, way of, we already know the jokes, trying to hook the woman. My bad, I said, trying to bring the inquisition to a close. So now you are missing Bible study? He raised his eyebrows shockingly. And why do you keep bringing him to service? I thought everybody was here to learn, but okay. He was pointing at Carmelo, who was bending down at the door to tie his shoes. What do you mean? He's here to learn like everyone else, I retorted. Barack rolled his eyes. Learn, huh? Yeah, right. So it takes one to know one, right? And this person is upset because they're in the position of power and they're seeing someone else encroaching on their property or their rights, right? He abruptly stopped talking to me and turned to find Simone, who was in the kitchen, packing up the food. I saw him leaning over her, whispering something in her ear. I laughed while making my way to the door. Carmelo was waiting outside, and he seemed like something was troubling him too. Why does your face look like that? I asked, pushing the gate. Nothing, he answered, sounding a bit salty. He and I were friendly of late, so I couldn't figure out why the conversation felt like a lover's spat. We walked a few blocks before he decided to speak. Why does that dude keep calling you back after every class? Every class, I repeated, confused, given that this is only the second class that Carmelo attended. Yeah, Baruch, whatever his name is, keeps looking at me sideways. What's his problem? Yeah, I have seen that too. Just ignore him, I suggested. You both got something going on that I need to know about? He continues, ignoring my suggestion. It was freezing outside, but I stopped mid-stride and laughed. Are you serious, Carmelo? Better yet, are you jealous? We're friends who go to Bible study together. He wasn't amused by my statement and stormed off towards the bus stop. I know I'm taking a long time to get there, but y'all know I like backstory. Anyway, Carmelo, I yelled his name, but he didn't turn around. I wasn't about to make a scene outside. Simone and Barack were gaining on us from behind, so I waved to Carmelo on the bus like it was all good. Simone lived on the same street as I did, just a few blocks up. I was almost home when I heard someone bellowing my name from behind. Rebecca, come here, hold up. I turned around, annoyed to see Barack. So this dude claims he's going to go drop off Simone, right? But really he wants to come and push his agenda. Peace, brother Barack, I kept walking without stopping. Why are you running from me? Will you let me talk to you for a minute? He had run in front of me and blocked my way. I wondered how he walked Simone home and caught up with me so fast. Where's Simone? I asked, no longer able to contain my concern. Oh, I dropped her home and came to talk to you. He moved out of my path and started walking towards my door, like inviting yourself in, like, dude, where are you going? Sorry, anyway. Talk about what? It's late, Barack. I looked at my watch. Can I come in? He asked boldly. Barack did not live in town. He was from upstate, so every Friday he came down to teach. He bounced from one elder's house to the other, and sometimes he would sleep on Simone's couch. Nah, that's not a good look, I said, shaking my head persistently. I could tell he was pissed off, but he didn't like being embarrassed. No problem. I'll catch up with you another time. I was relieved that he didn't push the issue, but I knew I wouldn't be so lucky the next time I had to find a way to tell the others, because there was something about him that spelled trouble. So now 19.5, we're up to 19.5. That's all chapter 19. 19.5, the name of the chapter is Two Wives. So that was the lead up, right? Here we are. Carmelo wasn't in class that Monday. I called him, but he didn't answer. He went missing for 2 days, but finally showed up that Thursday, barely saying 2 words to me. Tomorrow's Friday. You coming? I asked, trying to break the ice. Maybe, he replied without even looking my way. I didn't push the issue. After all, we weren't together. That Friday, I met at our usual spot and waited for a few minutes. It was getting late, so I left. Rebecca, wait up, a deep voice called from behind. I prayed it wasn't Barack. I pretended I didn't hear my name and I kept walking. I stopped at the crosswalk waiting for the light to turn. Someone tapped me softly on my shoulder. I spun around to see who it was. Carmelo. Glad you made it, I said, turning to keep an eye on traffic. My bad about the other day, Rebecca. I was kind of tripping, he said reluctantly. Tripping, you say? It's all good, I continued. We walked a few more blocks until we came to Sister Nancy's house. Rebecca, I have something to tell you after service, he said, turning to me. Something to tell me? I looked at him. Tell me now, I contested. I hate it when people tell me they have something to tell me and made me wait. Nah, just wait till after class. Just then, Simone popped her head out of the door. Service is starting, she smirked, closing the door quickly. Y'all ready? Hold on to y'all seatbelts. How did she know we were here? She must have heard our voices talking at the front window. I smiled and started to make my way up the stairs. It was warm and toasty inside. Y'all know how it is, cold up north. Dimitri, what's going on? I instantly peeled off my jacket and placed it on my chair back. Barack was sitting at the front, waiting for everyone to get settled. I saw him trying to be slick. He was watching my every move. I wanted to switch seats, but I heard him call out, face the east. For those who know face the east, you already know it means a time for prayer, right? So face the east means it's time to pray. So she's at service, keeping the Shabbat on Friday nights, and they're having, there's a small group of people who's keeping Bible study, and this dude is jonesing on her, and he's the leader, but he's younger than everybody, which makes it confusing. Face the east was a call to prayer. Everyone stood up and got into position. Brother Neil led the blessing. He was Barack's aide during service, and his prayers were always entertaining. Brother Neil prayed for what seemed like an eternity, acting like this was his personal prayer closet. He started off... I'm sorry. He started off asking the Creator to heal his sex addiction, Sister Shirley's man problem, and Brother Laban's corn toe. Simone snickered in the corner. Y'all ever had somebody like that who prays and just prays all, it's supposed to be your private prayer, and they're praying all manner of inappropriate stuff in the midst of the congregation? That's hilarious. I'm sorry. I had to cover my mouth to stop from laughing out loud. Carmelo was shaking his head in disbelief. After prayer, Barack took it upon himself to teach a lesson on marriage and multiple wives, y'all. So, essentially, this religious, indoctrinated view of multiple wives, of what you need to do, right? Rebecca, he called. Can a man have 2 wives according to the Bible? Barack had a naughty grin on his face. I hesitated to answer because this seemed more like a show than a Bible study. He continued, did Jacob have 2 wives? Yes, but I wanted to explain the situation, but he interrupted, trying to prove his point. Simone, he demanded. Simone stood up without hesitation as she looked at him sheepishly. Can a man have more than 1 wife according to the Bible? Barack, she protested. Just answer the question, he replied impatiently. Men have in the Bible, but can they now? She paused as if in deep thought. Everyone in the room had their eyes glued on us, including Carmelo. So this is this big show where he's like, I'm going to use my position now to G-check you, right? I'm sorry. Where am I? Okay. He watched the exchange intently. It was clear Barack was power tripping. He had a point to prove and was willing to use the Shabbat day to prove it. Embarrassed but by his behavior, Simone stood there shaking her head. I watched him intently, waiting for his next move. You can sit now, he smirked. Turn to the book of Deuteronomy, he instructed. That was a class to remember. Barack used his lustful desires to twist the scripture for the entire night. His version of multiple wives was laughable. Everybody was in an uproar. My mind flashed back on Chrissy. I couldn't wait until class was over to deal with him. Chrissy came early in the book. Y'all just have to rock with me right now. I want to talk to you, I said as I walked by him heading towards the kitchen. Nah, Rebecca, I'm busy right now. Maybe we could talk later. He brushed me off and kept walking. I didn't make a big scene. Carmela was ready to go, so I packed my bags and met him outside. What was that about? Carmela asked as he opened the gate. I shrugged my shoulders and wrapped my candy red knitted scarf around my neck. I didn't want to talk about the crazy boy Barack anymore. I figured I would deal with him later. So how have you been? I asked as we strolled down the street. It's been crazy at home, but I'm hanging in there. And then that's the end of that portion right here. No. Let me just finish because that's the end right there. Hold on. Where are you going? I blurted out mid-conversation. I noticed he kept walking past the bus stop. I want to make sure you get home safe, he replied. I'm not feeling that dude Barack. He's kind of suspect. I didn't argue with him because Barack was suspect. And after that stunt he pulled tonight, there was no telling what he would do next. So that was the first introduction, and it was from a teacher of the Bible who used the ignorance of those who he was teaching to push a certain agenda, right? Without any context, without any understanding, and a lot of this is, like I said, it's an autobiographical novel in the sense that a lot of this happened, right? So this particular part right here happened, you know what I mean? I'll let y'all know what happened when that happened. But that particular part right there, that's 100% facts. And, you know, the attempt was to embarrass those people who come to the door, the women. It's like the sons of Eli. When the women came to the temple, if you remember in the book of Samuel, when the women came to the temple and they were given their offering, they would exploit them. And so one of the first experiences is that the person who you're supposed to be trusting to be disseminating information and to be doing so from a pure and clean place had their own designs. And that's not the only place it happened. That was just the first place it happened. And then it happens in another place, and it happens in another place where people are saying, because we have to understand, if we're coming biblically, if we're looking at people like Mormons, people like certain Christian congregations and certain people who subscribe to, you know, this is what we want to do, you will see that the leader oftentimes has a vested interest to teach the information in a certain way that it's going to benefit him. Who's really going to teach something that's going to condemn their behavior and what they're doing? And so that's kind of what happened. But at the time, it's like you have a gut feeling, but you don't have the words. It's like a child, not saying adults or children, but when we're new to information, we're vulnerable like children, we're open like children. And so you get introduced to something, and you know in your gut, in your core, that something is not adding up, but you can't turn to script, turn to the book of Deuteronomy, turn to Leviticus, you don't have that ability because you're not learned yet. And so in that ignorance, people with nefarious goals and objectives, they will use your ignorance to kind of wrap you up. And over the years, I've seen a lot of people come. Let me know if you guys are there, if you can hear me. And they know in their core that something is not off. I mean, something is off, but they don't know how to verbalize it. They don't know why they feel that way. And that's a perfect storm. And the reason is because then you can easily be manipulated by telling you that, like I said the other day, it's because you're selfish. It's because you're unrighteous. It's because you're Western minded. It's because all of these things that's going to start coming out of the closet of why they already have a whole list of things. Any objection that you have, oh, you're better than your foremother, you know what I'm saying? All of these things just to negate what you're feeling in your experience. When people go about polygyny in this way, it always ends up backfiring in the end. Because you cannot manipulate, cajole, misinform people into what you want them to do. That energy is and will come back to you. So that's a real factual story. Oh, Father help me. And I was at first, I'm just like, nah, it's here, but you're not telling me the whole story. And long story short, that individual thought that laying with someone makes them your wife. And so if I put claim on this person and I get this person in this compromised situation, then that constitute wifehood. That does not constitute wifehood, but that's another story for another day. So anybody have any questions or comments, feel free to share. That's my thoughts. And again, that theme, if you continue throughout the book, that theme of I can have this allowance because it says so, that reoccurred in Rebecca character's life. It didn't just stop with the Barak character, and all of these names are fictional, of course, but it repeats. And then it became what you would say was a pattern, and you're like, okay, what is the common thread? You know what I'm saying? What is the what is this, and why does it keep appearing? You know what I mean? And so that's why, for those who may be like, why does it kept reappearing in my life for different reasons? And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? It's either you keep attracting the same type of people, or if this doctrine is being disseminated in a way that it appeals to men in general, but in this space, in a Hebrew space, more men are feel encouraged and empowered to say this. I don't know what it was at that time, but yeah. So with that said, this book, one of them already, I'm gonna send off to Sister Mayana. If you want a autograph copy, let me know. I have a few of them here that I'm gonna send out. But with that said, we'll be back to talk about the first and second episodes. I'm not going to just do one episodes because I don't got that much time to be doing all that. But I'm going to just like couple the episodes. If you saw the first episode and the second episode of the Seeking Sister Wife, we're going to have that discussion probably tomorrow or Sunday, one of the two. And then I'm going to couple the other two episodes as we go along, just to share some of my findings and hopefully help somebody along the way. So with that said, thank everybody for tuning in. Sorry for stumbling while I was reading, but you already know how it is. And we'll talk again. All right. 1.